Hi class, it's Alex,
And Caroline.
And Bailey.
and we're going to be talking about the 2018 Women's Persistence March in Spokane.
Over 6,000 people attended the Women's Persistence March in downtown Spokane. The organizers actually expected only about 200 people, but it's recorded that about 6,500 women, men, families, and dogs attended the march.
Many people actually weren't sure if the event was actually happening on this day, and it seemed like it was very hard to get the event up and running. The event was accidentally deleted on their Facebook page, and there was internal conflict among the leaders as well.
Local activist and event organizer Cynthia Hamilton said, "The community was out there hollering, 'Do you mean we might not have the Women's March? I don't know why it fell apart, but I didn't want it to fall apart." Hamilton had invested over $11,000 of her own money to help make the event happen, hoping that the community will be able to fundraise to pay her back and fund the rest of the event's cost.
So now we'll talk about our personal experience with the Women's March. So I knew that I really wanted to go, but it was super confusing because first it got canceled, and then no one knew if it was actually going to be a thing or where to meet or where to go and if the school was getting involved or not. And I remember waking up that morning and just being super excited to see all these people, and I wasn't really expecting there to be a lot of people. I was expecting it to mostly be Gonzaga students, but we all lined up and we met in Hemmingson and everyone made their signs. And I remember getting there and we were all met in front of the red wagon, and there were people speaking, but no one was really listening to them. But it was just really fun, and everyone was taking pictures, and there were a lot of babies and dogs. And then I remember walking, and people were chanting a lot of things, a lot of Trump things. Mm-hmm. I remember seeing a guy with a bullhorn talking about, or yelling about, Jesus wouldn't like this, all this anti-abortion stuff, when that wasn't even the point. But I just remember seeing so many kids, I think was my favorite part, and seeing so many dads with their children. It was really cool to see that. But
yeah, I feel like I definitely had a really similar experience. One of my friends just texted us the weekend before with the link to the Facebook page, and I think for a lot of us, since we are coming from out of state and we're coming from bigger cities, we're really surprised that they were having a march in Spokane. It was really exciting. We're like, yeah, of course we'll go. So we all made a Target run, and we bought a bunch of poster board and glitter and markers. And I have one friend who's our mom friend, and she knows how to knit. So she bought so much hot pink yarn, and she was just knitting away with our little pink hats. And then again, we got really nervous when we saw news that it had been canceled because we were working on our posters in Coghlan. But then it ended up okay, and we went. It was really cold that morning, I remember. But it was really fun just to be around all of these people. And I was surprised that there were so many non-students. Once we first got there, it was all of our guys' first march. And we were kind of unsure of ourselves, and we were just kind of standing there trying to take it in, taking some pictures. And I remember we were approached by two older ladies, and they asked if we went to Gonzaga, and we said, yes, we're freshmen, and this is our first women's march. And they just got really excited, and we could tell they were just really proud of us, and they told us that we were just living out that whole, Jesuit mission. And it made me really happy to be where I've decided to go to school, and it was really cool to see the community rallying around us.
Yeah. And for me, I'm from Spokane, and I didn't go to the march. I think I was working that weekend. It's been a really interesting experience, seeing the community I've grown up with these last 2 years making this march, and really seeing the community rally around it, how unifying it's been. I was a little shocked and kind of sad by how much division was within the march, because for me the idea of the march, especially in my own community, seeing it was just so powerful. This is what the community my kids someday are going to grow up in, is a community that supports the women's rights and supports trying to work towards something better. So it was really sad in some ways, because I was really we kind of talk about really worried about it being canceled. The only thing for me is I've been kind of cautious about whether or not I want to go to it, because of how division filled it is.
Yeah.
Because I like the idea of the unifying women and everybody standing up for women's rights. regardless of, like, ideology or, like, background.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, part of me is, like, kind of worried about, like, how many divisions there were in it.
Mm-hmm.
But it definitely, like, seeing how much, like, love was, like, spread there this year has really made me, like, want to go to it next year.
Yeah.
And, like, gotten me, like, more hyped up about it. Yeah.
That was my thing, because I didn't go to the one that happened after Trump's inauguration, and I really wanted to, and I really regretted it. Going to that one would make up for it, and I definitely think it did. Because, like I said, I wasn't expecting it to have that many people and to be that, popular, which just shows how much the community is growing and how more accepting it really is, more than people think that it is. And I remember texting my mom that day and, like, telling her I was going and sending her pictures and videos that I took, and she was so proud that, I was going out and doing, my little activist-y things. And it was just fun because, like, I'll always have that memory of going, and it's something, even if I never go to another march or protest or something again, it's something I can tell my children about, and just a amazing memory that I know I'll always have, because it's just all these people from different walks of life coming together for this cause.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I also didn't go to the one, and I really could have. I mean, the Women's March in LA the day after the inauguration was, like, one of the biggest marches in all of history. And this is my first active civic engagement, and I was actually really happy that I got to do it after I came here with, like, my new friends at Gonzaga. And when you get people who care enough, like Cynthia Hamilton and Angela Beam, it just shows, like, even in a town like Spokane, it's not D.C. or L.A., but you can still get a lot of people together and do something really good.
I think we can start talking about the protest as a whole and what was kind of wrong with it and the problems. What we all kind of agreed on is that the protest in itself, in theory, was for an amazing cause, but the problem was it was for too many different causes. There wasn't one set agenda. People were confused about what exactly, not what people were protesting about or fighting for, but what that day was supposed to be for. There's just so many things. It was a mosh pit of, like, isms and problems, and I think that really took away from what that day was supposed to be, because there was just so much confusion. And it was great that people felt they had that outlet to do that, but I think it should have been more centralized.
Yeah, I mean, I think from one aspect, you can argue, like, it is important to have that idea of, like, intersectional feminism, and this isn't just for one group of women. But I think one of the really big overarching things was, like, I don't know, it was called the Women's Persistence March, and it seems like the organizers and a lot of people wanted it to be something positive about empowering women and supporting other women, but some people took a more negative stance, like being anti-Trump, like anti the pro-life movement, and a lot of stuff like that, so that was a little confusing.
Yeah, there was just so much everything.
And I feel like it was such a great opportunity to, like, lift people up and, like, have all these positive things, but I don't know, it was kind of conflicting.
Yeah, that's where I was, like, kind of not sure about what I wanted to do, because there are parts of that, like, I definitely supported, and some of it, like, I didn't really want to have my, like, opinion out there for, and I was like, but I don't want it to be like, I'm here for women, but other people might see me there for something else. And it was just been an interesting thing, being like, well, how do I show, like, what exactly, if I go next year, like, how do I, like, show that I'm here for women's, like, upliftment, like, come up and talk to me about that, like, oh, you didn't go to the Women's March? Oh, you must, like, have,
women.
And I'm like,
hate yourself.
And I was like, and I was like, no, I gotta work, I had to, I'm a working woman.
Make that
you're
coin.
just, like,
I have stuff to do. But, I want to be there for women, but sometimes it's hard to, like, show exactly, like, how I want to be
like,
there.
your own motives and stuff.
My own motivations.
In conclusion, we have realized that the women's marches are a good start and great sign of gender equality, but there is still a lot of work to be done by everyone.